Hi, Sandy here from Ask the Pool Guy. I thought I would field a question that I hear quite a bit on social media just in watching conversations with friends of mine. A lot of people ask about how much it costs to run a swimming pool. So maybe they're curious because they're considering a pool, or maybe they're trying to figure out what decisions to make as far as equipment goes. Here's my thoughts on how much does it cost to run a swimming pool. I don't think it's as much about the cost of running the electricity or running the gas. It is a little bit for sure, but I think it comes down to choices more so than the actual cost. What I know about having a swimming pool is you can walk out your back door and you can be in the water. So you don't have to pack up a car full of kids, bring them to the pool, bring them to the beach. It offers a different way of enjoying summer and a different lifestyle. So there's going to be some things, of course, if you put a pool in at your home that will cost you money, but then there's also a savings because you don't have to entertain the same way that you would have before. So I think that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to think about when putting in a swimming pool, especially now because there's energy efficient options, the cost of running a swimming pool, the pump itself, and the heater, if you're smart about it, doesn't have to be that costly. So in a lot of states, they're already mandating energy efficient variable speed pumps. Michigan is not yet one of those states where it's mandated, but they are available and it is a really great idea. There's some energy savings calculators. If you go online, you can actually go to a few of the manufacturers and they will give you a side-by-side comparison what it costs to run a regular pump versus what it would cost to run an energy efficient pump. I would say as a rule of thumb for an average residential swimming pool, you're probably looking at $100 to $200 a month in additional electric, depending on how much you run your system and the size of the pump that you have. The gas now is another story entirely. There are heat pumps available. You've got to be careful when choosing the right heat pump though. Some of them will only work over a certain ambient temperature outside. Some of them are really designed to set it and forget it. So you'll turn on the heat pump, you'll set it to the temperature that you want, and then you don't turn it off and turn it on because it takes such a long time to ramp up and ramp down. But that's one way of saving on a gas bill and putting in an electric option instead. Because we live in Michigan though, and we typically need our heat to come on faster versus just turn it on and set it and forget it. If you think about May, sometimes May is 80 degrees and sometimes May is 40 degrees. So you'll want something that can accommodate what you need in the time that you need it to do that. So the gas pool heaters are more energy efficient now than they ever were before. They typically come with electronic ignition now because the millivolt has been phased out. So the millivolt was a heater that had a standing pilot and a knob, and you kind of had to guess as to what the temperature was because you couldn't be exact. It was, you know, like colder to hotter and that kind of thing. Now with the electronic ignition, you can actually tell it, I want the pool to be 82 degrees, which I find a very comfortable swimming temperature. And you can turn it on and off when you need it. So on an average day today, like we're in July, the air temperature outside is probably high 70s, maybe just hitting the 80, 81, 82 threshold. So the swimming pool, my heater was off, and the heater was actually reading 75 degrees. Most kids have absolutely no trouble getting in a pool that's 75 degrees. Adults maybe want it to be a little bit more comfortable. So like I said, I like my pool to be set at about 82. So if I know that the weather is going to be nice coming up for a weekend, I'll typically turn the heater on and I'll just let it sit there for however many days that is. If we get a cold snap though, typically I'll turn it off if I don't think anybody will be in the pool. So the gas bill will vary based on the amount that you use it. I would say another couple $100 a month if you're using it all the time would be something to estimate for. If you keep your heater on in the middle of November because you think it would be fun, that's going to be a whole nother story. You could probably take a vacation for that amount. So how fast will a pool heat up if, say, it's at 75 degrees in the morning and you want it to get to about 82? I would say if it's a warm day, you could probably make that jump with a typical residential heater in a few hours. If your pool water is starting at about 70 degrees and you want to get it to 82, then it's probably going to take a full day, and if you have to go any more than that, it might take a couple days. So in the spring, when we first open pools and the average temperature is probably about 50 degrees, it's going to take several days for those to get up to their heated temperature. So again, you know, the finances of running a swimming pool, something to consider, but I think it's more values and choices than dollars and cents. As far as the chemicals go, you don't really have to invest a whole ton in chemicals. If you just kind of grasp the concept of the water chemistry and you get it stabilized, it typically doesn't fluctuate. You know, you're not going to come outside one day and your pH is just going to be crazy if it's been consistent up to that point. So a few $100s a season in chemicals, the opening and the closing, and then any maintenance or service calls you might need. A lot of homeowners are do-it-yourselfers and can figure out how to do it. I know, especially with YouTube videos, you can learn how to diagnose, troubleshoot just about anything. But then the professionals, of course, are there for those who would rather not spend their time and energy learning that. So I think it's definitely something to consider. Just keep in mind what your values are going to be and what you place the most value on when you're making some of those decisions.